we discuss about concept of motion to little bit. Now we discuss what is the motion of earth around sun. Same way we discuss about rotational motion of earth and we calculated the same. Now here in that part we discuss that motion is something that is depending upon observer, where observer stands. Like in case of geostationary or geosynchronized satellite, the person is standing on earth and he is observing, that means imaging that satellite is there exactly on his head. So from observer, satellite is observed as stationary because it is not changing out its position. But if third person is observing from moon, then he may observe that both person, that is the person from earth as well as satellite, is in continuous motion. Same way, everywhere you will find the same thing, that when we are traveling by train and a train is entering in station, usually people ask, if I am talking in Hindi, to kaun sa station aaya bhai? Keep in mind, station is not coming towards you. You are going in the station, but we are considering ourselves as steady and station is coming to you. So like that expressions are there. So motion is usually, we are considering here, the motion is considered as with respect to observer. The change in position, that is called as motion. Now here we discuss that earth is moving around sun and for that purpose energy is required, but we discuss that no energy is required because work done in that case is zero. As work done in that case is zero, energy requirement is not there. But we discuss that earth is moving around sun. Why earth should revolve around sun? And then there is concept of force. Now we are going in somewhat deeper part of this universe lecture, that what is the law about motion or what is force. First thing we have to consider, there are different forces. Force may be balanced or force may be imbalanced. I am taking example, a car is standing on road, gear is neutral, and now at neutral position, suppose 4 people are pushing that car from back side, and same way 4 people are pushing that car from front side. Both are applying equal force, but directions are opposite. We will get that car will not move in any direction. It will remain as it is. The moment I am removing this 4 person, there is displacement in the car if sufficient force is applied by the people from backside. Now when both the forces are having equal magnitude but opposite in direction, at that time we are calling them as balance force. Whereas here I am removing this and only in one direction force is applied, then that is called as imbalance force. So first we should aware what is balance force and imbalance force. But again question is that what is force? Let us take out example. Suppose there is a car on road which is at neutral gear only. I want to move that car in the front direction of that car. I am not doing anything, just I am wishing, okay, move that car, move that car. It will not move. Then somebody will push it from backside. Either externally or internal mechanism is there by internal mechanism, then only that car is moved in moment. Means here something is required to apply on that car, then only car will start moving. Now it will start moving means what? It is changing its velocity or changing its state of motion. Initially it was at rest position and now it started moving. That means its velocity changes. By applying our normal knowledge, we can say it is initially car was having velocity as u, say whatever unit, that is meter per second square. Same way, after some time it will attain speed. Suppose 1 meter per, not second square, it's second. So v, that is 1 meter per second. So its initial velocity, that is u, that is equal to 0 meter per second. Say why I am considering 0 meter, because 0 meter per second, because the car is in not motion. Now don't tell me that as car is there on surface of earth and earth is in rotational motion as well as revolutionary motion around sun, and that's why car is also not steady. Yes, we are aware of that, but still here in reference frame, what is the reference frame? Road, some of the buildings nearby or some of the hills, trees which is there nearby. From that reference frame, car is stationary. Now I want to render or change out the motion of car, and so we are pushing out from back direction, and after time t, say 5 seconds, 10 seconds, it will attain certain velocity. That will be, now here I am considering my final velocity. So that will be v, that is something, let us check, 1 meter per second. So this way we are changing out its velocity or changing out its state of motion. That is, initially it was at rest position and now it is in motion with respect to given reference frame. And that's why velocity change when something is applied, that whatever something is applied, that is called as force. Getting idea? So we are discussing certain fundamental part. In that we discuss what is force. Now here you are sure now what is meaning of force, that in order to change the state of motion or state of velocity, something is required, that something, that entity we are calling as motion, force. Now suppose car is having motion 1 meter per second, in that speed car is moving, and now I want to stop that car. Say simple thing is that if person is sitting inside that car, he will apply brake. As he is going to apply brake, that means what? He is applying opposite force. Frictional force is applied. Now frictional force is opposing in direction, and therefore that car stops moving. So something, opposing force I had to apply, because car is now in motion. Now I am applying opposing force. Now here that opposing force is frictional force, or otherwise whatever the 3 to 4 person, they were pushing out car from back side, they should come at front side and start applying opposing force. Then car will stop. That means when car is in motion and I have to stop that car, some opposing thing is required, that is also we are calling as force. That means force is not only required to get motion in the object, we can change out state of motion, then that is called as force. Now accordingly, if you are able to understand what is force, Newton is very clever person. He only able to define this all thing initially, and therefore we are saying this is Newton's first law of motion. What is Newton's first law of motion? Say, if any imbalanced force is not acting on body, then it will continue its state of motion. Simplified law. I am again explaining you. First thing, if any imbalanced force is not acting is important. So if any imbalanced force is not acting on body, then it will continue its state of motion. What is state of motion? Suppose that object is standing, then it will remain in standing position. That means velocity equal to 0. That is we are calling as rest position. So suppose object is at rest position, it will continue its rest position. Now like that, this is whiteboard. I am not applying any force on that. So it will continue as it is, the rest position. Suppose object is in motion, then the object will continue its motion. It will not change out that motion when any imbalance force is not acting on body. Accordingly, I am sitting on a bicycle and just giving few pedals. The bicycle will be in motion, straight line motion, let us imagine. And after that, till I am not applying brake, bicycle should move in straight line direction only. Is it possible? Till infinite distance. Actually, it should be possible according to Newton's first law. But see, when I am driving out that vehicle, there are certain opposing forces I have to consider. Which are those opposing forces? Number one, we are there on Earth, and Earth is having thick jacket of gases. We are calling that as atmosphere. So these gases are opposing out, that means frictional force is generated. Can I remove this friction? Answer is I have to drive in vacuum, which is not possible for me. So I can minimize, and that's why if you observe racer cycles, for that racer bicycle, the person is not sitting in standing position. It is just bending out, that fellow, and sitting out. So minimize resistance of air or wind, the first part. Second, there is friction between road and tire of that bicycle. Can I minimize? Road must be smooth. But this friction I can't minimize. I can't make zero. I can minimize by reducing surface area of tire. That means the more thick tire, more friction. Less thickness of tire, less friction. That's why observe racer bicycle, you are having tire is very, very thin. As thin as possible. Second thing. But apart from that, there is mechanical friction. The wheel is rotating around that axle. There is friction between wheel and axle. So ball bearings are introduced. But not only ball bearings are sufficient, we have to add. Now what ball bearing does? Ball bearing is carrying out the sliding friction into rolling friction. Anyway, that we will discuss later on. But we have to add here suitable lubricant so that frictional force will be still reduced. Then between paddle, that axle is there. There also I have to apply ball bearing as well as suitable lubricant, chain and all that. That means mechanically I should minimize this all friction. I am again using word minimizing and not making zero. Then my cycle can travel longer distance, and this way Newton's law is applicable. Now suppose we can able to minimize, reduce to zero the opposing forces. Then object will continue in moving. Like that Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, these spacecrafts are sent by NASA. Now these spacecrafts, they are traveling outside our solar system. They were boosted once only, and then they started out their journey forever till today. That means the recording date of this lecture. These Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, they are moving in the space. Now they are almost crossed out the boundary of solar system. Infinite distance they are going to travel unless they are not striking out any astral body. They will continue their motion, or some aliens may trap out that till that. Anyway, but from 1976, these vehicles, they are sent out in the space and they are continuing their journey without giving energy for that movement. Only once we have to push, and then it will start continue. It is non-stop moving unless and until opposing force is not acting on it. So this way Newton's first law is applicable. Now after getting knowledge of this Newton's first law, you can define force again. The entity which is required to produce motion or change out motion of object, that is called as force. Now you are aware the force is having unit as Newton. That is force equal to mass into acceleration. So unit is kilogram meter per second square, or we are simply in honor of this great scientist, we are giving unit as Newton, that is SI system unit. that is Newton. Now this is Newton's first law of motion. We are connecting out something with space. Now Earth is moving, but Earth is not facing out resistance from other gases. Say, keep in mind, atmosphere is there, this is Earth, the atmosphere is there around this, but together we are considering this is part of Earth only, and this entire system is moving in some direction. Here is the vacuum only, and that's why opposing force is not there of atmosphere. So number one, energy is not required for this motion. Now number two, and this is very, very important, when Earth is moving around Sun, I am again saying here that the path is not perfect circular one, but right now at beginning level we should consider this as circular one only. Now Earth is moving, suppose in this direction. Earth is attracted towards Sun because of gravitational force. Now this force is there, that is continuing Earth in circular motion. Suppose Sun is absent, what will happen? Earth should go in straight line direction. But because of Sun is there and it is pulling out Earth towards Sun, the motion or path is circular one. This force is acting towards center of this circle, and therefore we are calling this force as centripetal force. So another concept here, that is centripetal force. Now on Earth also same we can consider. Suppose this is a pen, I am tying any string over here and just moving like this. You will get that pen is also performing circular motion. That string, whatever their string, the force is acting through the string. Now string is radius of the circle of which this pen is making orbit. So the force is acting towards center through radius, and that is the centripetal force. Now you are aware that this centripetal force is only there, then Earth should fall in the Sun. Why? Because it is pulling towards Sun. But when there is one force that is called as centripetal force, a pseudo force, pseudo means false, a pseudo force is acting on that, we are calling that pseudo force as centrifugal force. I am revising, we are calling that force as centrifugal force. Magnitude wise both forces are same, only directions are exactly opposite to each other. That centripetal force I should give by formula mv square upon r. You are aware m is mass of substance, v is velocity, r that is the radius of which circular, because this is centripetal force, so it is following circular path, so radius is considered. This is centripetal force, then I have to give centrifugal force by opposite sign, that is negative sign, because here something is not there, that means it is positive sign. So something is there, therefore it is negative sign, and we are getting this force as mv square upon r only. But the thing is that this is, suppose I am saying this is centripetal force, then this should be centrifugal, and vice versa. Suppose I am saying this is centrifugal force, then this is centripetal force. Their magnitudes are only opposite, so there are changes of magnitude, but otherwise, changes of direction, but magnitude is same. So here we are getting centripetal force and centrifugal force, as both are balanced. With respect to this force, motion is not there, because whatever the way Sun is pulling out, because of centrifugal force it is going out, and so Earth is following a constant path, it is not falling inside the Sun. So this way we can get answer that what is the importance of centrifugal force or this type of pseudo force. This is first law of motion. Then we discuss about something that is that is centripetal force and centrifugal force. We are going to another concept of physics only, that is called as momentum. Imagine a person is there on bicycle. He is traveling on bicycle, and that person is hitting out another person on the road. What is the impact of this hit? Say, person is driving bicycle. I have not mentioned mass of bicycle, mass of person, and velocity of bicycle. May be possible. These all concepts are required. Say bicycle is moving, but what is the speed of bicycle? That is not mentioned over here. May be possible same person is walking on road and he was hit by a bus with very slow speed. But what is the impact? Another experiment. Before discussing this, I should suggest you to perform simple experiment. But keep in mind, while performing this experiment, you should be in open air. Don't perform this experiment in your home, and use only the thing which I am explaining here. Don't change out the objects over there. Simply, you have to take one football. I hope that you must have football, or you can borrow for one experiment from any of your friends. Usually this experiment you can perform in open air only, so don't perform this under roof. Now you can have table tennis ball. I am using word again, keep in mind that plastic ball is there, that is table tennis ball. Don't use tennis ball. We have to use table tennis ball. Keep it on this. And now drop out it. Simply say, I am holding out this football on that table tennis ball, and just drop it. And observe. The observation is that while going down, both balls are having same velocity. But the moment that football hits out ground, it bounces back, and while bouncing back, the table tennis ball jumps with tremendous velocity. You may get fun of this experiment also. So try to perform this experiment. You will get concept. Something is not there only on mass and only on velocity, but on basis of product of mass and velocity. Say, suppose person is walking on road that was hit by bicycle, but by virtue, suppose the road is slopey road and bicycle is traveling with speed of 60 kilometers per hour, and then person is hit, the impact is definitely different. Whereas person is walking on road, but it was hit, that person was hit by a slow moving bus, then impact is something different. Now imagine person is hit by train, slow moving train, then also impact should be something different. We have to check out what is the impact. So first thing, I have to start here to explain for this a concept, that is mass. You are aware that mass is given in terms of kilogram, but it is the product of mass and velocity. So this product of mass and velocity, I am denoting as small p. This is a problem of English. I am not able to say this is small or capital. That's why I am repeating. This is small p, that is multiplied by mass into velocity. Velocity is meter per second. The product of this mass and velocity we are calling as momentum. And every time the impact is determined here by momentum. Suppose a person is hit by a bicycle which is having considerable less mass and high velocity. Mass is less, velocity is high, momentum is high. Mass is more, velocity is less, then also momentum is high. Mass is low and velocity is low, momentum is also low. That's why a person who is walking on road, you are driving your bicycle carefully, and then you are going to hit that fellow. Then obviously he is going to hit you back, because he will get only push from your bicycle. But suppose that fellow is walking on road and he was hit by a bus, then obvious thing is that he is not going to hit you back, because he is obviously depending upon the speed of bus, he must be there in hospital only or somewhere else. but this is the example I am giving you, that the product of mass and velocity is here important. Product of mass and velocity, that is called as momentum, and depending upon momentum we can determine the impact of heat. Now imagine same way that two cars are moving. Okay, I am not giving lecture on road safety, but these are common examples, and particularly I am staying in crowded city, so these examples are common for me. Many times we are going to observe that. Suppose two cars are moving and they are striking out each other. What is the impact? Many times this type of accidents you must have heard, that truck is hitting out car or truck is hitting out bike rider, etc. What is the impact? Sometimes the impact is very, very, very worst, and sometimes only car get damaged out. Let us check out. This is the car 1, this is car 2. This is having mass as m1, v as v1. This is having mass m2, velocity v2. Both are traveling in the same direction, and v1 is little bit greater than v2. Then they are going to hit, but hit is in one direction only. Now at that time we have to consider a concept, that is relative velocity. The relative velocity will be v1 minus v2, and that's why suppose this is 60 km per hour, this is 59 km per hour, so relative velocity will be 1 km per hour, and this velocity I have to substitute over here by converting out into meter per second. So only that is the momentum. But suppose they are traveling in opposite direction, that means we are calling this as head-on collision, then apparent velocity is more, and then we are saying relative velocity equal to v1 plus v2. Now you must have observed these all things. Suppose you are going by a car and another car is just overtaking you. While that, you may observe faces of person sitting inside that car, maybe possible number of car, that is number plate of car you can able to observe, you can able to read. Suppose the velocity difference is very less, you can observe this way very clearly what is there inside car also. But a car is traveling in this direction, another car is coming in this direction, and they are passing out. When they are passing out, you are not able to observe who is sitting in the car from side, who is there sitting in the car, how many persons are there in the car, what is the number of car, etc. Because the velocity, what velocity you are traveling and what velocity that car, we have to add out. Suppose your car is moving slow but that car is moving fast, then also relative velocity here is v1 plus v2, that is velocity of first car and velocity of second car. Same way, suppose many times this happen, while I am driving car, I am driving supposed to be not that high speed, my speed is around 60 to 80, but sometime I get that certain racer bikers, they are just overtaking me. I have to check what is my speed, 80 km per hour, what is their speed, because the way they are overtaking, their speed is surely greater than 80 km per hour. Same way, suppose that same fellow is coming in opposite direction, then that overtake will take place in very, very small time, because my speed is 80 but their speed is more than 80. So net speed is 80 plus whatever that, say their speed is 100. So 80 plus 100, net speed of overtake is 180. And that's why when we are considering opposite directional part, we are calling this as momentum is in opposite direction, then the damage is of greater extent. Now we are coming to Newton's second law of motion. Now you are aware about momentum. So what Newton's second law says, rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to force applied. I am revising words. rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to force applied, and it takes place along the direction of force applied. Simple. First, try to get what is the word rate of change of momentum. For that purpose, we can consider simply the object having mass 1 and it is having velocity 1, that is u1. Second, instead of that, mass m and initial velocity u, that is most appropriate. So the initial momentum of substance, that is m into u. So I should write p1, that is mass into initial velocity, therefore it is u. So it is momentum, that is equal to mass into u. Now p2, after some time, suppose momentum is change or final momentum. Now momentum is change, but for same object mass will be same. So what is the change? Only in velocity. So it is m into v, that is the final velocity. So this way we are able to calculate initial momentum and final momentum. Now what is change of momentum? Change of momentum should be equal to P2 minus P1, or that is equal to mv minus mu. So it is final momentum minus initial momentum, that is change of momentum. Now I have to calculate rate of change of momentum. Rate means what? Per some unit time here. So per unit time, so I have to divide this by t. So this is rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to force applied. So this is second law of Newton. I am again revising here. The force applied is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. So rate of change of momentum we calculated first, and then we go in this way, that force applied is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum, and it takes place. That it means what? The change of momentum takes place in the direction of the force applied. Okay. Now I have to remove this sign, because whenever we are there with proportionality sign, we are not able to calculate. In order to remove this proportionality sign, we have to remove this sign by sign of equality and some constant. So always keep in mind, by using this technique we are removing proportionality sign. That equal to sign we have to substitute, and we have to put some constant. Now here I am substituting here by equality sign and k. Now here I can take m outside. What is remaining inside? That is v minus u upon t. Try to get our previous data, that v minus u by t, that is acceleration, that is rate of change of velocity. And so I am getting here force equal to k m, and I am substituting value of v minus u by t, because we got that as a. If not, go to previous lecture and check out. So this way we got formula that work done, force, that is equal to k into mass into acceleration. Now this value, this is constant. We can determine this value of constant. If we are using SI units, then this value is 1. And therefore we got formula, that is force, that is equal to mass into acceleration. That is from Newton's second law of motion. So this way Newton's second law of motion is able to determine what is the formula for force by applying. Otherwise we have to apply kma, but here we are getting value in SI unit as 1. So we are getting formula as F equal to ma. That's why in previous lecture only we discuss about different entities. Out of that we discuss about units. So force, and now you are aware that unit of force, that is Newton. Now here we want to express certain ideas. With respect to this Newton's second law of motion, try to recollect, we discussed about some experiment. In that experiment, we said that we want to take some football, then tennis ball on that, and then drop it and find out what happens. Find out what happens exactly. This is our football, whereas this is the table tennis ball. In order to get simple idea, I am giving you mass of football as capital M. Now it is having initial velocity, or simply I am going to explain you simple way, m into v. This is the momentum of this football, whereas this is having mass as small m, and here v1, I am giving you here v2, the velocity of tennis ball. The moment this is striking to the land, suppose here there is surface, this is striking to surface, it is having initially zero velocity, but then onwards it is getting its back velocity in this direction. Now there is collision between this ball and this ball now, because no doubt they are attached, but at time this ball will reach earth first, whereas this will not yet touching out the surface of earth, but it is now colliding with this ball at hit, and this ball will get again motion in this direction. Now keep in mind the mv2 is in this same direction in which mv1. Now this is transferring its momentum to this. So when this ball is transferring out its momentum, obviously thing is that it can't transfer out mass, so it can give only velocity. Its momentum is very high as compared to tennis ball, so it can transfer velocity, and that's why we are getting tremendous velocity for this tennis ball. This is what explanation I am giving. If you have any other explanation, try to think and try to give any other suitable and relevant explanation why that tennis ball is going up with very high velocity. Now let us check out again with this type of law. Another law is coming, that is called as law of conservation of momentum. Now what is law of conservation of momentum? It says that whenever there is collision, say between two bodies, the collision is there. In that case, total momentum before collision is exactly equal to total momentum after collision. I am revising. Total momentum before collision is exactly equal to total momentum after collision. Again, check out. There is a gun, something like that, rifle or gun is there. There is a bullet here. Suppose I am showing here this way, there is a bullet. Now I am holding out rifle like this. I am steady. In this reference frame, my motion is 0. So I am steady over here. Bullet is also steady. Rifle is also steady. This is before collision state. Now as it is, this is before collision state. Let us check out mass of bullet as mb. Its initial velocity is u. I should write ub. So this is total momentum of this bullet, whereas this is gun. So I may say m mass of gun, whereas velocity of gun, so it is u of g. This is what total momentum we are calculating out. So this is total momentum before collision. The mass is there into mass of that b stands for mass of bullet into velocity of initial velocity of bullet. Same way mass of gun into initial velocity of gun. Now as both are at rest position, the total momentum we have to calculate, that is equal to what law says, this should be equal to mb into vb. V is what? Final velocity of bullet plus mass of gun into instead of u I should write here v of g. Now this should be equal to mass of bullet into velocity of bullet. Why velocity of bullet? But this is final velocity. After hitting out, I am removing trigger. I am releasing trigger. As trigger is released, there is hit, and bullets start moving in tremendous velocity in this direction. So this way, bullets start moving in this direction. Its final velocity after collision, that is just something is hit on this bullet, that is Vb. Plus, at that time, I should consider mass of gun into velocity of gun. Now, gun is initially at rest position, but after hitting bullet, it should move in back direction. We are calling that as recoil motion of the gun. So we are talking of here recoil motion now of gun. So this is the formula. Now obviously, what is u? That is 0. So we are getting initial velocity because we are considering that everything at rest position. So this is 0. This is also 0. 0 into world's any biggest number, you are getting answer as 0 only. And so our this side becomes 0. So obviously, mass of bullet into velocity of bullet plus mass of gun into velocity of gun. This ratio must be, this thing must be 0. How it can be possible? The only thing is that the opposite direction may solve. Say Vb is in this direction, then Vg, that is velocity of gun, must be in opposite direction. And so any one direction is changed, then I can change it out this sign. So we have to show this sign as negative. Any one, either this is negative or that is negative. If any one is negative, then I can say the magnitude is different or same, but direction is obviously different and direction must be opposite. Therefore, the direction in which bullet fires exactly in opposite direction, gun start moving, and that's why we are calling this as recoil motion of gun. Now here I want that bullet should be fired with very high velocity. Yes, if bullet is fired in very high velocity, then obvious thing is that in order to make this total 0, velocity of gun is also high. That means you are getting a very good shock of that gun. Suppose I am making velocity of bullet less, then obviously velocity of gun will be also less, you will get less shock. Suppose I am having mass of bullet is also very high, as well as velocity of bullet is very high, then obviously the shock is very, very high. In order to avoid that, I must increase mass of gun. And that's why you are aware that in old days, when recoilless guns were not there, at that time guns were made heavy. The heavy gun will give us comparatively less shock. I am not saying that shock will not be there, but it will give me very, very less shock as compared to lightweight gun. So this way the bullet is hit in this direction, gun will hit in exactly opposite direction, that we are calling recoil motion. Now you are aware of cannons. In case of cannons also same thing. That's why cannons were made very, very heavy, so that recoil motion will be minimized. If cannons are made in lightweight, then obviously it is having very high recoil motion. Nowadays we are changing out something, that recoilless guns. What is that recoilless gun? The recoil energy, what the gun should move in back direction, that is used to reload another bullet. And that's why comparatively less recoil motion is observed in case of gun. But for that purpose, special mechanism is there inside the gun, but without that mechanism, gun will fire in opposite direction. Now, if I am giving you example of gun, then I must give you another example, that is of bomb blast. You will say, what this lecture is going on, because we are continuously discussing here some of the different things. Accident, road accident, now we are discussing about gun, we are discussing about bomb blast also here. Check out, this is suppose bomb which is chemically packed. We can consider very simple thing, that gunpowder, usually sulfur powder mixed with charcoal powder or coal powder plus niter, that is potassium nitrate is there. This mixture is called as gunpowder. If it is fired, then explosive reaction takes place in very short time. Say, what is explosion? Ultimately, explosion here we are considering as very great amount of energy is liberated in very small time. Then we are getting that reaction as explosive in nature. Now here that explosive material is packed, and these are the shells of bomb here, entire shell of bomb. Now bomb is at rest position. Suppose I am not talking of hand grenade, I am showing that this is the bomb. Okay, bomb is at rest position. What is U? 0. M, whatever is the mass of bomb, that is there. So total momentum before collision, that means before bomb blast, is 0. Now by some reaction I am triggering out and bomb blast takes place. At that time also the total momentum must be 0, but practically speaking the shells or pieces of these shells, they are moving in all the direction possible with very high speed. And how it is possible that U is 0, that must V be 0? No, V of bullet or V of bomb, that is not going to 0, it is break down into pieces, and now every piece will move in different direction with different V's. Okay, the direction is opposite. Say this is moving, exactly one piece will move in opposite direction, this is moving in this, and this piece will move in that direction, and so everywhere it is moving in all possible direction, but total momentum is nullified. So whatever momentum gained by this direction, that is nullified by momentum of this, net total is 0. So like that bomb blast takes place. That is also obeying, this is law of conservation of momentum. So what is law of conservation of momentum? That is total momentum before collision and total momentum after collision is same. And now we are talking of another concept here, that is called as concept of inertia. Now inertia is tendency of any body. I am not saying anybody, any body, not to change its state of motion. That is called as inertia. Inertia I am dividing into two parts here. One part, that is inertia of rest position, and second part, that is inertia of motion. Let us check out inertia of rest position now. What is inertia of rest position? Let us check out example, common example many of you must have experienced, like roller is there, that we are using to make pitch, cricket pitch in ground, or even for any other way. The roller is there. Initially we had to push that roller with very high force, or you may have experienced that many times this happens, that because of car battery is down, it is not taking ignition, and we have to push that car from backside so that car can take motion. Initially 2-3 persons, they are pushing out that car. Just observe their body angle. It is they are just bending to great extent. That means they are applying tremendous force. Once car is in motion, just observe their position. They are now not that bending out. They are bending like this only, little bit bending. That is indicating that they are now implementing less force. What happened? The car was at rest position. I had to apply more force. Then only car can be in motion. When people are experiencing more force, because car is at rest position, we have to push that car. So great force is required initially, more force is required initially, so car can be moved. But once it is in motion, comparatively less force is required, because initially car is having inertia of rest position, and now once car is in motion, car is having inertia of motion. And so it is very easy for a person to move the car when it is in movement, but when it is in standing position, it is not very easy. You must have experienced same case about bicycle driving, that initially we have to apply somewhat greater force, and then onwards we can drive that bicycle very easily. The same mechanism is there in car or bike or scooter, that we are applying first gear, then second, then third. The first gear giving us tremendous force but more energy. Second gear will give us less force. Third gear will still less force. The car is in motion, then comparatively less force is required to maintain, and that's why more force is there, less force is there, that means less energy. More the force, more the energy. Check out what we are saying. W is equal to F S cos theta. Forget of cos theta for horizontal displacement. Then we are getting force into displacement. In order to get more force, we are requiring more energy, that is work done. Less force, less work done, and like that. So this way we can check out that when person is driving vehicle at top gear, it is giving us good average, because energy required is less. So petrol consumption or diesel consumption or whatever fuel is there, that consumption is less. This way we can say that there are two types of inertia. One is inertia of motion, inertia of rest position. Suppose a roller we are pushing out, it is taking tremendous force, so that roller, huge roller of cement pipe, we can move with very great force. We are getting more force to apply, so that roller will be in motion. And then suppose we have to stop it, we have to implement greater force on that, we have to apply greater force on that, then only it can be stopped. Why? Because initially it was having inertia of rest position. The once it is in motion, it is having inertia of motion, and we resist, or every body resists to change its position of motion. That means initially it is at rest position, it is refusing to change its position. Now it is in motion, now it is also changing to, refusing to change its state of motion. So this concept we are considering here, that is called as inertia. After discussing all this first law and second law of motion, we are coming to our important part, that is Newton's third law of motion. I hope everybody is aware about Newton's third law of motion. From childhood we are hearing like that every action is having equal and opposite reaction. Newton's third law is very, very simple. For every action there is equal and opposite reaction. You can sit in any chair, do this experiment very carefully, and slowly hit the wall. Check out, chair will move in backward direction. You are applying force in this direction, chair is moving in opposite direction. If your chair is having wheels, then chair will move with very high speed to back direction. If wheels are not there, then there are chances you may fall down from chair with help of that. So this is simple thing. You can experiment various, you can carry out various experiments. We have to just fill out balloon with air and just release it. It will start moving here and there. This is also Newton's third law. Again, check out rocket. What happened exactly in rocket? Say my drawing is not good. This is aerodynamically whatever the shape is there. You can check out. In the rocket, we are having two chambers basically. I am going schematically. This is not existing really. This is having fuel, whereas this is having oxidant. Keep in mind, I am not using word as oxygen. We are using word as oxidant. Right now, keep in mind when we are discussing chemistry, you will get realize this. But here, just compare that they are mixing out oxidant and fuel, and blast is carried out. In this reaction, whatever the gases are produced, they are directed in downward direction. As a result, the rocket is getting motion in this direction. The extent of blast is more. The push given by this rocket is more. We are calling this as propellant. The fuel, whatever the fuel we are using here, that is called as propellant, and oxidant substance is there, that is mixed out together to get this type of motion. This is also Newton's third law of motion. For every action, equal and opposite reaction is there. Even forget of rocket. I am giving you another example. This is a stool or any chair like substance. A person is sitting over here. What is happening? That person, you are aware, he is having mass and gravitational acceleration is there. He is pulled towards downside. So he is applying force over this chair. Whatever force he is applying, the equal and opposite force is applied here by this chair on this person. As a result, we are getting that balance force, whatever force, this is F1, then same amount of F2 is applied by stool. So F1 is equal to F2. Equal and opposite force is applied, and therefore here you will get that when balance forces are applied, displacement is not taking place here. So this way we are getting here Newton's third law of motion. If you are sitting on a chair, then also you are experiencing same thing. Suppose instead of this wooden part, I am making this of thin thermocol. The thermocol will not able to generate F2 as equal to F1, and as a result we will get F1 will be greater than F2. This is imbalance force, that means motion is in downward direction. We are calling person is falling. This is the way, because direction of this is falling towards downside. So this way Newton's law is applicable as long as you are there sitting in the chair. The surface is giving you exactly opposite reaction force. Now in case of jet engine, same principle we are using in jet engine. Say this is the fan like, now this is again schematic diagram. What is jet? That jet is small tube. Here there are fans inside, they are taking air inside, then there must be a wall, so it will go air inside in this direction, but it is not flowing in out direction. Here there is reaction with fuel and a blast is carried out. Hot air is produced. The air which is taken inside that engine is very hot. It is made hot by burning in fuel. So we are getting the temperature rises here. As a result, air start expanding. But there is no place for expansion, only one outlet is there. From that, air start moving in tremendous speed in backward direction. As a result, we are getting motion of engine in forward direction. This all is carried out because we are getting this type of engine. This is called a jet engine, which is used in aeroplane. What is difference here? Here it is taking oxygen also and oxidation of fuel is carried out. Jet engine is not carrying out here oxygen, whereas here we are carrying out oxidant also, because rockets are used to travel the object usually from Earth to outside area of Earth where oxygen deficiency is there or oxygen is absent. Say initial stages of rocket, they are traveling in atmosphere, but in very short period they are going to such altitude that we are getting less oxygen and ultimately considerably less oxygen, and then onwards zero oxygen level. And for that purpose rockets are carrying out their own oxidant, whereas jet engines, they are not carrying out their own oxidants, because these aeroplanes are meant to fly in the Earth's atmosphere and not from Earth to Moon.